Republican leader Tom Kean Jr. and Assembly Majority Conference leader Joan Quigley. Thank you very much for joining us. It's the economy, and it's the economy. Priority 1, 2, and 3.
It's true that we're in tough economic times, but we didn't get here overnight. New Jersey's been in these circumstances for the last several years, and unfortunately, Governor Corzine hasn't addressed that issue at all. When you look at other states, our neighbors, Connecticut's growth rate in private sector job creation in 2007 was 8 times our average. New York was 11 times. Pennsylvania was 6 times. And unfortunately, Governor Corzine's only big ideas were an 800% toll hike, and earlier, just recently, a pension deferral gimmick, both of which were met with round opposition in the legislature on a bipartisan basis.
So you're saying that what he suggested here in his State of the State is just not going to work?
Well, what I believe is that Republicans and Democrats in the legislature alike have come together and led, whether you talk about the net operating loss, the throw-out rule, the no bonding without voter approval, the protect the unemployment insurance funds from being raided by legislators and governors alike. Republicans and Democrats alike have come together and shown leadership on economic development. Governor Corzine, unfortunately, his ideas are failed ideas. So I think there's a contrast between what Republicans and Democrats in the legislature have been working together and leading and finding solutions than with this governor who did not offer specifics in this approach.
Needless to say, I don't see it quite that way.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
I was very happy that the governor has made it the economy, and the economy, because it wouldn't have been credible had there been anything else. But I'm also very pleased that he put it in perspective, that over the past several months, we in the legislature and the governor have already taken major steps to make our economy better. Job growth is one little piece of the picture, but we are so much better than our surrounding states. I was at a conference just before Christmas with legislators from 14 other states, both parties, some minority, some majority, and I was stunned by the problem that other states have.
In terms of what?
In terms of their unemployment, in terms of their general economy. They're losing major manufacturers and major employers. We just haven't grown them as fast as we'd like. But we haven't had that kind of economic explosion, as you said earlier. And also the budget hole that they have to fill next year. Ours is big, but my God, theirs is much bigger.
But what about the growth of surrounding states? I mean,
if you
what
look at,
you were talking about.
He said 2007.
Our budget deficit.
18 months ago.
Our budget deficit right now, we're the 4th worst in the nation in terms of gap between where expectations were and where we are today. The issue that we need to have is how do we create jobs and grow the economy? And we need to, and the legislature has come together, offered some solutions. I warned the governor back in September 20th of 2007 about an impending crisis from a Wall Street perspective, and unfortunately that was ignored, as was the bi-chamber common sense solutions to make for a more affordable New Jersey. And unfortunately, when you look at what's happened in New Jersey over the course of the last several years, hundreds of thousands of people have left the state because they can't afford it any longer. Last year, Governor Corzine extended a home energy tax for $68 million. That makes it more unaffordable than every ratepayer is paying right now.
Okay, well, I'm going to try to cut through the talking points here. I'm really going to try to, cut to the chase here. This is a political year, and I don't think you can really view this speech without viewing it in a political context. Okay, many people who I have talked to that are neither on the Republican side or the Democratic side said that this was basically a political stump speech. It was something that the governor wanted to get across, what he has accomplished, and there were no real solutions. Now, I know that kind of leans Republican here, but
some of the Democrats have been saying to the governor over time, because we get a little frustrated too, but from a different angle. We've been saying, Governor, you have done so many good things. The state is in so much better shape than our neighbors. Talk about that. Put it in perspective. Yes, there's a lot that has to be done. We've already started much of it, and we will continue it. But let's go back and look at the good stuff.
Let me just interrupt you here for just a second. Nobody talks about the 800-pound gorilla in the room, and that's the budget deficit. And that's not only this year's shortfall, but next year's as well.
We just cut $812 million out of it, and we cut $140 million out of last year's. We're going to do even more.
Well, unfortunately, this budget is still 15% higher than Governor Corzine, when it was when Governor Corzine entered office. And when we look at New Jersey compared to other states, we are not better off, even in our region. If you look at the job growth statistics that I talked about that have happened for years upon years, if you look upon the fact that people are finding the state to be more and more unaffordable. This was the decade of lost jobs, according to Hughes and Seneca out of Rutgers University. And people have felt that. People have felt the impact on their families. They felt
But
the
our
impact
unemployment
on their
rate is still
property
better
taxes.
than the region and better than the nation.
When Governor Corzine took office, he promised to reduce property taxes 40% over 4 years. It's gone the exact opposite direction. The job growth is below where other states have been doing, and people are feeling that at home.
Well, that was my next question. I didn't hear anything about tax relief in there.
I don't know if this is the time to talk about tax relief. I'm not talking for the governor. I want to make that plain. But I think it's a little bit unrealistic to say that while the price of everything is going up, taxes are going to go down, because there are going to be more people needing more services from local levels of government and from state government, and we're going to have to provide them and pay for them.
But many economists do say, and they pretty much agree on this point, that if we are in fact in a recession, which I don't think there's any debate about that, that tax relief, that's the time to do it.
It's very important,
right?
absolutely right.
Don't wait, that's the time to do it.
Providing services and making a vehicle for investment is also important, and we may not be able to do that on the cheap.
If you remember, last year, Governor Corzine started out the year talking about 800% toll hike, which have crippled the New Jersey economy. He then, through a back door, put through a 150% toll hike on the Parkway, the Turnpike, and the Atlantic City
they did that
Expressway.
themselves, Tom.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He did that through with his appointees, with his approval, with his direction, according to his talking
But
points.
the money has to come from someplace, does it
But
not?
that's
I mean,
going
it has
to
to come
these
from
tax
someplace.
increases are starting to hurt people. And what we need to do, and taxes have gone up on everything from tires to rental cars to income taxes to sales taxes to the home energy tax that the governor extended last year.
But
alone.
also
And
on
this is
shoes
crippling
and books
the middle
and
class.
food
And this is hurting
everything.
the middle.
Everything's going
Okay,
up.
so we only have
I'm
a
talking
couple
about the tax
seconds.
increases.
Let's look ahead to March when he talks about it, when he gives his big budget address. What are you going to see? Some specifics there?
I think you're going to see a lot of specifics. I think they're going to be painful. I think the Democrats are going to cry and the Republicans are going to shout. And I think it's going to be Armageddon. But we will do it. And by July 1st, we'll have a good budget that people can live with that will save them money.
Wow.
I think there's a real contrast between when you see what Governor Patterson, who's come up with specifics so far, and doesn't delay budget addresses, as this governor's delaying it weeks and weeks, hoping for help from Washington. New Jersey issues require New Jersey solutions. John Corzine has been ignoring New Jersey solutions for far too long. I hope that starts to change.
Doesn't matter when he says it. July 1st is our deadline, and by July 1st, we'll have a good budget, one that New Jersey will be, if not happy about, content with and able to live with.
But an Armageddon.
I'm afraid so.
Yeah, okay, well, we're getting out of here. Thank you very much. We are going to be back in just a moment. More on Governor Corzine's State of the State address, including responses from the GOP candidates for governor when New Jersey Now continues. So just stay with us.